Alrighty then, this is a video about the Hinterkaifeck murders, okay, for my creepy stuff, scary stuff series of videos. Unlike the others, this is not a made-up story or an urban legend type of thing. This is an actual case that happened in Germany in 1922, and it's one of those really messed up unsolved crimes. Some of the stuff, I'm not going to go into any graphic details, but some of the stuff might be disturbing to some people. But if you've ever watched a horror movie and, you can make it through this without any problem. Because, like I said, I'm not going to be describing stuff. Well, there's a few details that are a bit messed up. But not graphic gory or anything. Okay, and I'm sorry if I completely butcher the names of some of these things, some of the people and places. Okay, it happened in 1922 on a farmstead in between the Bavarian towns of Ingolstadt and Schrobenhausen. And, it was a really horrible crime, and whoever committed it, they never found out. And it's become one of the more most interesting and unsettling crimes in German history, apart from the Nazis. I'd say that there's a good 7 or 8 years there that where basically the entire country of Germany was one big crime spree in one way or another, but that's not the point of this. But, it's not only because it remains unsolved, it's because it seems so random and inexplicable. There really was no apparent reason for it. At least that's what people say now. There's a bit of a hype around this. And if you dig into it, you find that pretty much everybody had a good idea of who did it, they just couldn't prove it. Now, there's also some slightly supernatural stuff that's been attached to this. Let me get rid of that so my voice stops sounding weird. I have a fan on me, it's hot. This is summer right now. So, I guess about 6 months before the incident occurred, the old maid, because this was a fairly wealthy farm, the old maid had quit, saying that the place was haunted, and the new maid was hired, and she arrived the 31st of March, which turned out to be only a few hours before whatever happened. So, incredibly unlucky on her part. In fact, it's probably the most tragic thing about the entire case. There's a lot of tragic instances and occurrences, obviously, but just kind of the fact that she really had nothing to do with the family, apart from the fact that she had literally just shown up to start a new job there, and gets murdered. That's kind of messed up. It's pretty tragic. Now, on the 4th of April, several neighbors went to the house to see what was going on. And no one had seen anyone from the farm since the 31st, and that was odd. The little daughter, Cazilia, C-A-Z-I-L-I-A, Cazilia, she hadn't shown up for school, and what they found really shocked everyone. I'm not sure if this is pronounced Andre or Andres or Andreas, A-N-D-R-E-A-S. I'll go with Andre. Andre Gruber, his wife Cazilia, their daughter Victoria, and her daughter, also named Cazilia, were all found dead in the barn. Victoria's 2-year-old son Joseph was found dead in his cot in the house, and Maria Baumgartner, the new maid, was found dead in her bedchamber. The murders were very brutal. The autopsy concluded that they had all been killed with a pickaxe. And they're really, at the time, again, the legend states that there was no apparent reason for the crime. Upon inspection, there actually could have been. Probably the most messed up, and this is probably the most disturbing part, is that the doctor who performed the autopsies basically proved that the young girl, Kazelia, had been alive for quite a while after her family had been attacked. Or rather, after she had been attacked, because she had torn out tufts of her hair while dying next to the bodies of her family. It's not, obviously, there's no way to know for certain just how long she had lain there dying. But she did not die quickly or painlessly or easily. At first, of course, they suspected a robbery, a very nasty robbery, but a large amount of money was found in the house, ruling that out. I mean, obviously, if you just find money laying around, or, within easy access, somebody who's had several days in this building is not going to just leave it if they're trying to rob the place. This is kind of where the case starts taking on some of its legendary stature and strangeness, because the animals had been fed. Definitely more recently than the killings. Food had been eaten, and people had even reported smoke coming out of the chimney over the weekend. Which meant that the killer or killers had stayed in the house for at least a few days, a couple of days after the deed was done. I'm trying to pick up my train of thought here. I mean, there were some other things, like some weirdness with... I mean, the whole thing was just very strange. There's some real strange things about the case, like the fact that Victoria's husband was supposed to have been killed in World War I in 1914, which made it very possible that the daughter was not his, and obviously the son wasn't. There was a lot of rumors in the family. There were even some court cases that there was an incestuous relationship with Victoria and her father going on. It's never been verified, but there was court cases involved, or at least one involved. I guess in the area, the relationship between father and daughter was considered a known fact, but nobody knows for certain if either child was a result of that. They figure the time of the attack occurred. It had to have happened sometime after the 31st, and there was still mail sitting outside where the postman had left it Saturday the 1st. Okay, that's where I kind of gotten ahead of myself where I've written about this, because that's how they're kind of dating when things had to have happened, because we're talking Germany here, so there was still snow, quite a bit of snow, so it's very unlikely that they would have left the mail outside Saturday. So it's figured based on the mail and just the fact that the girl never showed up at school on Monday. Except, well, that's what first started cluing people in that something was definitely wrong. Because it seemed like there was activity on the farm over the weekend that made people think that they were still okay and nothing was wrong. It wasn't until the girl didn't show up on Monday morning that things started becoming suspicious. So, really, it had to have happened the night of the 31st. At least that's the most likely scenario. And yeah, sometime on the 31st in the evening, possibly very early in the morning on the 1st, before the post arrived. Again, it's based entirely on the mail being left outside when a family obviously isn't just going to leave their mail out in the snow. It's possible it happened sometime during the day on the 1st, but it's sometime between the 31st and and when the mail arrived, because they never got a chance to bring it inside. Sorry if I'm kind of rambling about that. I'm just trying to get the facts straight before I move on. The investigators came to the conclusion that the family members in the barn had been lured in one by one and then attacked. So, you know, it's one of those things, did they know their killer and follow them into the barn to see something and then get attacked? Or was it a case where one of them went out and then they never came back, so somebody else went out after them and like, where the fuck are they? Go out and, you know, just a chain reaction. And, you know, a lot of people think or thought that it was just some wandering madman that pulled this off, did this nasty deed. But there are a lot of hints that there was more going on, and again, under closer inspection, if you look past the legend aspect of it, it really seems like most people had a good idea of who did it. I guess one of the prevailing theories was that it was actually Victoria's husband, because his body was not found. He was just MIA, reported killed in action. So it's possible that he was a suspect, because it paints a pretty little picture for people. The husband finally makes it home to his wife, discovers she has another child, but never remarried, perhaps with her own father, so he loses his, you know, he flips out, has a post-traumatic stress kind of thing happen, and kills them all. The reason I don't think that that's likely personally is that the maid and daughter were killed, and the daughter very likely was his child. She may not have been, but probably was. So, and the son as well. I mean, I can understand him flipping out and killing the parents and the daughter, his, you know, his ex-wife or wife, since there was no divorce. He's just presumed dead. She would have still been his wife, technically. You know, there'd be no reason to kill the rest of them. Because most people, you know, the rage would have been directed at them. The Victoria for betraying him, at the father for, you know, for betraying both of them in that way, and the mother for obviously knowing that this was going on and just letting it happen. So I can understand those three, but the little girl, the son, and the maid, kind of hard to, you know, work that out, unless he just got scared and killed everybody. But then, why would he care for the farm for 2 or 3 days and stay there eating food? I mean, you could say a rage killing is understandable in those circumstances, but that shows an incredible lack of remorse and even a lack of acknowledgement of what had been done. But the bodies had also been covered up, and most of the time, I mean, if you've ever watched any crime shows that are, you know, better about including real details, most of the time if a body has been covered up, especially the face, that means that the person who killed them knew them and didn't want them looking at them. So a vagrant who's only seeking food and shelter and then kills people, that's kind of extreme. It's not very common. It's not very likely. You know, the stories are pretty much all urban legends about that sort of thing going on. There are cases like that, but not very common. But obviously this isn't a common case. There was the whole haunting thing, but really that added up to some strange footprints that only led to the house, a newspaper that they couldn't, you know, nobody knew who had bought it, some missing house keys, and footsteps heard in the attic. So that actually suggests that somebody had been in the house, been getting into the house. So it's possible, again, this goes back to the possibility of it being the husband. Victoria could have been hiding her husband in the house. Or perhaps she had brought some other man in and been hiding him there somewhere. So, but who knows? I mean, it's hard to say. They think Victoria was the first to have been killed. She had been strangled as well as hit in the head with a pickaxe, and she was still wearing her clothes, so she hadn't been raped. You know, there was no signs of that. And they think she was the first to have been killed because she was just wearing her daytime clothes. And then her mother was the next one killed. She was also wearing her daytime clothes. So they are pretty sure that those two were the first two killed. Andreas, and the younger Kazilia, the daughter, were wearing their night clothes. So they had been killed sometime later. And it really seems like the most likely killer was the father of Joseph, or someone else who was in love with Victoria and just could not stand what was going on there. And they even had a suspect, Lorenz S. Victoria had claimed that he was the father of Joseph, but he denied it and accused her of having the incest with her father. That's the court case. But then he later said that he was the father, perhaps hoping to marry into the more wealthy family. But this had been a couple of years before. Since then, he had gotten married to someone else and had a new baby of his own who had died. And Victoria was trying to get child support out of him. So you have some factors there that could have definitely driven someone to commit murder. And it would also explain why he would kill Joseph and not just the other people in the house, because that could be kind of a revenge thing after his own child has died. But again, they never proved anything. He was one of the ones that found the bodies. He also displayed a very familiar knowledge of the property while searching. Other people who were with the search party stated that he messed around with everything it was possible to mess around with. I mean, we're talking 1922, but forensics was in existence, at least the basic stuff. He was the most likely suspect, but he wasn't ever charged. No one else was ever charged. Nobody was ever conclusively been able to show that he was the killer or anyone else. Because there did seem to be a few things that excused him. Like, he could have stolen the house key, but that doesn't explain the footprints that only went to the house, or the footsteps in the newspaper in the house that suggested that somebody was already in the house before it happened. It doesn't explain why he would kill the maid and then stick around when he easily, the maid was killed in her bed. Or rather, I think she was out of the bed, but she was killed in her chamber, in her bed, in her night clothes, which means she was unaware that anything was going on. So it makes no sense for him to kill the family in the barn and then go in the house to kill the kid and her. Really. The kid, maybe, with the whole losing his own child thing, but the maid, again, the whole fear thing of being discovered, possibly, but again, why stick around and take care of the animals and eat food and stuff? But he did seem to think the family was evil. He was recorded at some point as saying, he was known to have said at one point that the Lord was right when this happened because they were bad people. So perhaps he had also, in addition to his own issues with the family, wrapped up everything else in some sort of religious fervor against them. But in the end, there really is no way to know. Everyone involved is long dead and buried, and, like I said, they never charged anybody. They can never conclusively show what happened exactly. They have a lot of the details, or they were able to figure out a lot of the details based on just little things like the mail still being outside and the night clothes on some of them, but day clothes on the other. The first two that were killed, most likely the two women. But there was never any proof. And that is the Hinterkaifeck murders. Very strange, messed up case. I hope you enjoyed this creepy but true story. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.